Yes, welcome to Movie Night, guys. I hope you enjoy this one. It's a little darker, it's a little tarser than some of our other weeks, but I think this is a very worthwhile film. The 8K HDR render, I don't think has subtitles, but it's more of a visual film anyway. Let me see what happens. If you guys really want subs, we can switch it over, but here we go. Let me just change some things over.
A planet in our solar system. White mountain ranges, clouds, the land shrouded in mist.
Are there subtitles? Not for the 4K remaster. I'm sorry.
The first creature we encountered tried to communicate something to us. Something is looming over this city that will soon be laid waste by war. Now it is still alive, biding its time. Nobody has yet begun to suspect the impending doom.
This is Kuwait, correct.
The war lasted only a few hours. Afterwards, everything was different.
Lord changes.
All we could find were traces. Had human beings actually lived here? Had there ever been a city? The battle had raged so ferociously that afterwards grass would never grow here again. We met a woman who wanted to tell us something. She had been dragged away by soldiers, along with her 2 grown sons, and had to watch her sons being tortured to death before her very eyes. This caused her to lose her speech, but she still tried to tell us what had happened.
Salah Marco. Yalla. Yalla. Isen ser eu has o Salah Marco. يلا يلا ها إيه هاك إيه إيه هاك هاك لا يلا يلا زين ها يلا وصل يلا
This was once a forest, before it was covered with oil. Everything that looks like water is in actuality oil. Ponds and lakes are spread out all over the land. The oil is treacherous because it reflects the sky. The oil is trying to disguise itself as water. This lake here as well, like everything else, is black oil. there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake, and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found.
إذا يعني صيح دموع اللي
Even the tears were black. When my child wept, his tears were black. When his nose ran, it ran black. Even the spittle in his mouth was black.
يكح يطلع شيء أسود منه.
The soldiers came at night while the children were sleeping. They dragged this one here out of bed, and one of the soldiers trampled on the child's head with his heavy boot, and then pressed all his weight down on it. They held on to my husband and me and threatened us with their rifles. I said, "Please, take your boot away, you are crushing his head. Look at this little fellow, he hasn't spoken a word since." It was terrible for me. Then they shot my husband. That was a year ago. The boy used to be able to talk, but now he says nothing more. Only once he said, "Mama, I don't ever want to learn how to talk." And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
Quick aside to everybody. This movie focuses much more on the cost of war, the human cost, rather than focusing on assigning blame. So I am glad everybody in this chat is having conversations. As long as they remain civil, that is the point of a film like this, to start conversations. So remember that. Engage with each other civilly, and remember that this movie is meant to start those conversations. And it is only by having those conversations we can grow. First. Secondly, someone went, man, I really wish this movie had more context. And I think that's kind of the point that Herzog is trying to display. The images in this film feel so alien that you don't even really know what the fuck you're looking at. And that's the point. How could something so fucking impactful, something so brutal and extreme, feel so alien to so many of us? It's happening. It's happening all the time. And I think that is also kind of the point. That when it comes to war, there is a complicity in all of us. And I also think that when we focus on the numbers and the news reports and the borders and assigning blame when it comes to a war, you forget the humanity of it. You forget the untranslated pain of a grieving mother. You forget a national park that is turned into a fucking tower of fire. That's what this movie is about. It's taking it in. It's taking a second for something truly fucking uncomfortable.
Two figures are approaching an oil well. One of them holds a lighted torch. What are they up to? Are they going to rekindle the blaze? Has life without fire become unbearable for them? Others, seized by madness, follow suit. Now they are content. Now there is something to extinguish again.
Wow. Every time with this guy, Werner Herzog. Holy shit. Oh, man. Jesus Christ. You just watched Lessons of Darkness, a movie from 1992. Obviously, there's a lot to get into if you want to go down the political avenue of the conflict in Kuwait and the... Oh, thank you. Thank you. As I said, there are plenty of times to throw money at me. Tonight's not one of them. I'm going to do my talk. I appreciate you, Mo. I'm going to talk about this movie for a second. There's a lot of ways that you can attack this, right? I think if you want to get into the X, Y, and Z politically, impactfully, the nexus of why something like this happens, Misguided Penguin, thank you. You can look into it. You can read about it. It's all been logged. I want to talk more about what Herzog wants to accomplish. What with this film and how he goes about it. And I think the first thing that you can take in is Herzog is much less concerned about giving you the X, Y, and Z of what is occurring and much more with making you feel it. And ultimately, I think that's much more impactful. Or maybe it's a yin and a yang. I think a lot of times these political issues can get far too analytical and people don't feel them. I think people get lost in the numbers and the borders and the impacts and the analytical elements of something so horrific, and they forget to allow for humanity in those moments, particularly their own. And so Lessons of Darkness is truly a meditation on catastrophe. And I think Werner fell in love with what he was seeing, not in a way that he appreciated it, but in a way that there was truth there. And the truth is, hell was never the inspiration for anything. Hell was a reflection of us. It's amazing how you can look at the imagery in this film and it feels uncanny and yet familiar. You can see the Harkonnens on Dune. You can see Mordor. You can see all of those things that we keep confined to science fiction and horror and fantasy. And you can see it right here on our fucking planet. And we made it. And not only did we make it, I would be willing to say that over 50% of the people in this chat right here lived through that event. And you could probably hardly recall the specifics. You could probably not put one single human face to those events. And that's crazy. I think one of the most impactful scenes in that entire film, and I remember the first time I was watching it, I was scrambling for subtitles, scrambling for meaning. When that young mother is talking about the death of her 2 children, and it's not meant to be interpreted like that. You are meant to experience a universality in empathy and suffering at that woman's plight that goes beyond language, that goes beyond the understanding of being able to assign language to tragedy. It's something inherent. And man, there is a genius to Herzog, and it is terrifying. He is an artist, and his muse is pain. He really, really has an ability to lay these unfathomably uncomfortable moments so bare. And it's amazing that this one German guy is able to paint a picture that CNN or any of the news organizations at the time could ever hope to. I think that the soundtrack is second to none. The soundtrack is one of those incredible fucking just perfect backdrops. One of my favorite pieces that he plays is hold on, let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Siegfried's Death and Funeral March. How did he get all those aerial shots? Helicopter. They didn't even have drones back then. Anyway. Incredible. Yeah, so this movie won all kinds of awards in 1992. It won Melbourne International Film Festival, like their highest prize. And it's only 54 minutes long, the whole thing, all in. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than that. Sometimes when I turn on the news every day and it's war and it's, you know, so depressing and it's easy to tune out. Sometimes it's necessary to tune out. I think you can only take so much as a person, really, before you cease to be able to function. And if you can't function and you can't help yourself, then you really can't help anyone. So everybody has a limit there. But I do think at times it is also important to do the inverse, which is letting it all hit you, which is meditating on it, kind of walking the labyrinth of the cost of war and how we feel like we are stuck in just a flat circle. How is it possible that we can look at these things in the face and arrive here over and over and over and over? War, genocide, greed, the business of suffering. I mean, the Boots and Coots thing is so fascinating because you feel some kind of empathy for these men, but also at the same time, you're like, how does one find themselves in this industry? How can a human being be so malleable that they find themselves okay with being covered in crude oil and setting fires in the middle of the desert just to put them out? How does this exist? How is their artistry and mastery of a craft so draconian and awful? Like Hephaestus sitting in the mountain making unspeakable implements of war, there sits some guy from Texas being sprayed in the face with fucking dinosaur drippings. It's a lot to take in. Anyway, I think ultimately, as I said, there's a level of complacency for all of us if you really take the time to think about it. And I don't say that in a way to make you feel bad. I say that in a way that a therapist would kind of make you assess that blame and take it on and maybe be okay with it so you don't drive yourself crazy. But there are two facts about that. You could always be doing less. You could be part of the problem. You could be a bigger piece of shit. And don't worry about that. But you could also be doing more. And I think for communities like ours, there needs to be a hard line that is war, never again, and never under any circumstance, and no one that we support or endorse or follow or educate or love should cross that line. It needs to be a hard and fast barrier that we all agree to. And raise the children well. Make sure they know the cost of war. Make sure every time they hold that toy gun, they know the reality of that gun when it's not a toy. Anyway, I wanted to watch this one. That's it. This one was for me. I was thinking about this movie today as I was looking at footage in Hassan's stream, and I went, yeah, we're going to watch Lessons of Darkness. So I'm sorry for how heavy that one was. If you want to watch how to tell a nonverbal story through visuals, my God, talk about every frame of painting. Jesus Christ. The brilliance in this movie. Dude, my favorite shot in the entire thing, other than the Molotov into the fucking pillar of flame, oh my, is the bubbling oil. That shot of the bubbling oil is so otherworldly. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my God, how is this the face of our fucking planet, man? It's crazy. The audio is amazing too. Oh, the audio is insane. The best audio in the entire thing. If you want to study, who filmed this? Werner Herzog. If you want to study how to use audio in your film, him putting that entire sequence with wild sound that's been really refined, right? It's wild sound is probably recorded not with the camera, but a little bit off and tuned up to almost be like this cacophony. And the moment they put that seal on the oil well, silence. That is one of those moments that is just like chills. Also, I do think that his use of that confessional from the woman without subtitles, as opposed to the other woman later on who's telling the horrific story and he does a translation, I think the juxtaposition of those two is amazing. I think the smiles he gets from some of those guys working in the oil field, the guy smoking cigarettes in a fucking burning oil field, is just crazy. Insane. The first woman cannot be subtitled. She wasn't speaking any actual sentences. Well, you can subtitle that. Like if I'm just saying, God, help me. They took him. God, help me. God, which was, to my understanding, kind of close to what she was saying. You can still subtitle that. But I think ultimately he really wants you to focus on the core empathy you're feeling. That was a choice. So the idea with a lot of filmmaking education, that's a good point, is in filmmaking, you have to make choices, right? There are 100 ways to tell a story. There's always going to be the one that is like the most common. But those moments that stand out to you in filmmaking are when the filmmaker makes a choice. When they do something that is atypical or unusual or stands out, those are the moments that are going to define their filmmaking style. And Werner Herzog, in a documentary, right? Documentary isn't really known for its bold choice. Typically, you're getting a very fly on the wall experience with a lot of doc. But Werner makes a lot of big, bold choices in this film and in all of his films, really. And I think it's ultimately, when I show documentaries, I'm always gravitating towards Werner. Now, we've watched some other ones, like the one about living under New York City, which I think is incredible. Like Days of Darkness. But Lessons of Darkness, that's funny that they have very similar titles. It's just Darkest Days, sorry. It's just such a, God, it's so good. So good. Anyway, we don't watch many docs here. Someone's saying something. Mr. Neff, just saw the doc you did back in college about Cuba a few weeks ago. It was very good. As a documentary filmmaker, is there any advice you might have on making a documentary film and how it might differ to narrative filmmaking? Yes, the amount you shoot. The amount you shoot for a documentary should be endless, almost. Because a doc is a project that comes together in the edit. Truly, right? A doc is a project that comes together in the edit. Everyone goes into a documentary with ideas, but your documentary doesn't happen until you film the reality, right? You can go in with a concept of the story you want to tell, but the story has not been told yet. It's what you capture on your camera and how you edit it that will be the final product of a doc. That will be the story. A narrative film, you want everything to be as concise as possible. Going into a narrative film, you want everything mapped out tight. And you don't want to film a bunch of superfluous shit. And you don't want a bunch of just random fly. You want to keep it lean. You want to keep it tight. And then the edit refines that story. Right? So that's what I would say for a documentary filmmaker is, especially for your first doc, keep that fucking camera running. Keep that fucking camera running. When you get on site, roll that motherfucker. Get everything. Film everything. Let it roll. And in this era, when everything's digitized, you don't even have to worry about film. So just get it all. The other thing I will say, the best piece of advice I ever got about making documentary is a person will give an answer to a question. And if you sit there in silence, then they'll give the real answer. I'm telling you, it's crazy. You can try this in your personal life. You can try this in your personal life. The next time you ask someone, hey, how are you doing? When you think they're not doing well, I guarantee you they're going to go, I'm good. And if you don't believe that's the answer, sit there in silence. Hey, how are you doing? I'm good. Well, like it's crazy. It's crazy because people are so trained to like snap off an answer that they sometimes don't think about or reveal truths in their first answer. So whenever I film a doc, and I haven't for many years, I got that piece of advice. And my method, I would truly always try and answer their answer with facial expressions. First, because I didn't want to ruin the take, right? If someone's like, yeah, and that's the time my father ran my dad over with my grandfather over with the car. And you're like, you can't use that. So you would ask the question, oh, what's the significance of that? And then you would just kind of go. And then when they got done with the question, you go, and sometimes you can squeeze a little something else out of there. Would you ever do it again? Your rave adventures? I don't know. Trying to capture a rave, I think, is a lot like trying to talk about your dreams. It's only significant when you're in it and no one else cares. I love how we get interviews of a woman so heartbroken and destroyed by watching her children get killed, a child that refuses to speak after having his life destroyed, and incoherent mumbling of Boots and Coots workers really helps with the show not tell method of this. 100%. Where can I watch the Cuba doc? I'm going to be honest, I don't even know. And you have to understand, first of all, I made that when I was 21 years old. Peace and love. I made that with a very big group, so it wasn't really kind of my full creative vision, but I was very proud of what I did at 21. I went down to Cuba to tell a documentary about organic farming in Cuba called an organiponico, because the Cuban people, kind of by necessity, have become incredibly efficient organic farmers. And so I went to tell the story of how farmers globally could perhaps take lessons and inspiration from the Favela Organiponicos in Cuba and maybe integrate more metropolitan farming into the United States. Spoiler alert, no one listened. Spoiler alert, no one listened. But yeah, it would be cool. I mean, I think places like Detroit would benefit greatly if we went into some of those dead blocks and put publicly accessible farms in places like that provided food for the community.
The lunch lady.
I think ultimately we always look down on stuff like that or think it won't work. But I think organic farming in areas like San Francisco, Los Angeles, Detroit, New York could provide a lot of very fresh and inexpensive or free food for impoverished people in metropolitan areas. Anyway. Some of my neighbors use their front yard to farm. Great use of land, to be honest. Absolutely. Wouldn't that be nice? Life. Real. Will, have you seen Hard to Be a God? Hard to Be a God. I don't know if I have. Let me take a look at this project real quick. Hard to Be a God. Wait. Oh, I've heard of this. Wait, I've heard of this. Why have I heard of this? It's black and white. Who made this? Alex C. German. Huh. I gotta check this out. I know I've been recommended this before. I gotta check this out. Individual farming is just a hobby to sustain a society requires industrial agriculture. I think you are looking at it very myopically. The idea is to supplement the farming operation we already have. I think you also vastly underestimate food deserts in our country and how so many people don't have access to like real fresh produce and vegetables. And that having these public farms where their interest is, this is a farm funded by the state that provides low cost or free food for the people that live around it. And in turn, they can come work there or plant there or just enjoy the public space. That's what it is in Cuba. Like those farms are right in the middle of these giant like favelas, and they make the area so much more beautiful. And I'm telling you, like, one of the things that they had while I was there is they had sugarcane juice, right? They would feed these sugarcane into a crusher and they would just give it out. And the lines for that shit became insane. And kind of like classic city design, those public markets became social places where people would then come and just congregate and learn. And the feeling of community kind of in those areas felt unbelievable, right? Like when I was at one of the sugar cane stands right outside the Organiponico, a family like just invited me over for dinner. They were like, "Hey, do you want to come have some Cuban dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, come on, white boy, let's go, gringo." I do think that is an important facet of city communities that we have lost. I think a lot of kind of that communal feeling is really being lost. Like in Los Angeles, I can tell you, like, a lot of people don't know their fucking neighbors, which is really sad. And having these publicly used and appreciated spaces like an Organiponico, a public farm, brings people together and it gives them a common goal. And so again, is it going to feed the entire country? No, absolutely not. Is it going to feed the entire city? Definitely not. Does it have a very important place in life and in culture? And does it supplement a lot of the strain on the people in those areas? Yes. And you would be shocked how much food these places really can provide. Anywho, that's a different chapter in my life. That's when I was a young, hot activist. I was about to say it requires a community teaching each other too. Took me 3 years of learning. True. But I also think that's something that a lot of Americans could deal with, is learning more fucking skills. Cubans have so much talent in their hands. The average Cuban can rewire the electricity in your house. They can fix your car. They can change your tire. They can rebuild the engine of a 1950 Ford, whatever. They like, they're, because they have had to, they do. Out of necessity, they are very capable people. Roll a mean cigar on the thighs of beautiful women. In regards to war and international catastrophe in film, we see a lot of war propaganda with lessons of darkness. The lack of narration lets you realize the tragedy. What film strategies do you think are really well done to let film display a political aspect without being overly blunt in its messaging? I think anytime you can attach empathy to a protagonist who is dealing with said issue, I think you can educate people on said issue, right? I'll use kind of I won't say ham-fisted, but a very draconian example. I think if you really watch Brokeback Mountain, for a lot of people, it was their gay gateway drug, right? Because you cared about Ennis and you cared about Jack. And there were a lot of Midwestern moms and, former military dads who went and watched Brokeback because it was critically acclaimed. And at the end, they were crying about a relationship that before that moment would have seemed so alien to them, right? It's like, I don't mind if those gays want to fuck, but just don't put it in my face. By the end of that, they're like, it is why he loves you, you son of a bitch. And I think that was enormously important for homosexual civil rights, for gay visibility, for queer equality. Like Brokeback really was this huge moment in culture. And I think for a lot of, also Linda Cardellini looks so fucking hot. But I think, sorry, that's neither here nor there. That was an aside. I think that there are a lot of films that can express a political or social truth through a protagonist and make you empathize with it. Because there are these universal truths that can only be expressed through empathy. Because at the end of the day, despite my hair color, I'm not black. I'm not trans. I'm not queer. I can't live those experiences. I can be next to those experiences as my friends experience them. But it is only through my sense of empathy that I can learn and I can help and I can be an ally. And it is easier to express empathy when you are invested in story, right? It is kind of like the carrot and the stick method for making people better. We are going to give you a very good, compelling story. That's the carrot. And the goal is that we're going to make you feel. We're going to make you empathize. So the next time, someone is fucking with a trans person, it doesn't feel like they're fucking with an alien. It feels like they're fucking with you because you get it. Ooh, oh my God, did you guys hear my neck? Some background on Hard to Be a God. It's an adaptation of a Strugatsky book of the same name. Oh, wrote Stalker. Okay. Hard to Be a God. I'm leaving the tab. This is always my highest praise. When I leave a tab open, it means I'm serious. So I left the tab open. I'll check that out. You're a good egg. Well, if I have seen further, it is because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. And that's kind of the purpose of film night, right? The idea is you can become a better artist, a better person, a better creative, more worldly, more interesting, simply by piggybacking off of what others have done. Learn from them. Take it in. Appreciate it. Film is this incredible genre where you can learn, you can deepen your soul, you can become more worldly by being entertained. Fabulous. I watched 10 minutes of Lessons of Darkness 2 years ago, and I'm glad I finally watched the whole thing. You only watched 10 minutes? Unfortunately, ignorance runs rampant, and lots of us would not even be willing to improve ourselves. Well, I mean, yes. And that's why sometimes you got to take the reins. Like tonight, people are like, hey, we want to watch Shrek 6. And I was like, no, you got goddamn Rush Hour. And people were like, show Rush Hour 2. Come on. And I was like, no, tonight's medicine night. Open up. Tonight's medicine night. Open the fuck up. Time for your vegetables. But I do think that that's okay as well, right? Like it's like I said 45 minutes ago or whatever. I think accountability is something we have to take for everything. And at the same time, you have to give yourself grace, right? You can solve a lot of things. You cannot solve everything. If you put the weight of the world on your shoulders every day, you will buckle and you will not be able to affect any change if you absolutely saddle yourself with pain, because you won't grow. It is yin and it is yang. You need to have joy. You need to have happiness. You need to have contentment so that when those struggles come, you can take them on. Right? Every day is a balance. Every life is a balance. And so I do think a lot of people sit down and they endlessly saddle themselves with anxiety and dread and guilt, so much so that they can no longer affect any good in the world because they are so crushed. They become nihilists to the point where they don't have the ability to take that first step. So preserve yourself, because we are at war. We're at war with people whose business is war. And so you have to be at your best, and you have to espouse the value of love and of peace and of empathy. That's the real battle, right? We're fighting a war against people that profiteer from war. And so the only way to win that is to change hearts and minds. And the only way to do that is to offer people something better. The moment you get down in the trench with someone whose business is war, you're paying them. You're paying them to fight with you, because that's exactly what they want. So you gotta interrupt the industry. You gotta sell something else. And that's why I know it's so fucking painful, but everybody's a potential ally. There is potential for change in like 90% of people. And that is so brutal, because there are so many fucking idiots that you don't want to embrace. Yesterday's leper is today's incel, right? It's hard. It's hard to convince yourself that you got to wash those incel feet one day. You know what I mean? That's who Christ would be. Oh, fuck. He's talking about look maxing again, isn't he? All right. Okay. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard pill to swallow. And you're not going to win that battle every day. I am sure even the Buddha one time punched the fuck out of someone, right? I am sure that happened. But it's making those little steps, those little changes, those little improvements, and making sure that you lend yourself to people that have it worse than you do. You know? That's it. Anyway, I'm glad you guys came to film night. I hope you had a good time. This was truly an introspective one. As I said, I was inspired by current events and what I see on my various screens. And tonight I wanted to do a little guided meditation. So next week, we got to get extra fucking stupid. Yin and yang, baby. Oh, yeah. Next week, we're doing Conan the Barbarian. Get your fucking cod pieces on, you fucking animals. Slop, 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 slop. Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys a lot. Obviously, you've changed my life in a lot of financial and other ways, monetary ways that I appreciate so much. It's a pleasure to be able to do this for a living. Oh, sorry, I was reading something I didn't understand. I just always want to say I'm so grateful for our film community. It's really cool because, as I said, sometimes streaming feels like making hamburgers. I don't know if I'm really making the world a better place. And film night still feels like something meaningful that it's not something I provide. It's something we all provide. There is a willingness and a community here. And that's awesome. You know what I mean? It's cool to just get together with people that are trying to do better. That's cool. So with that being said, who wants to watch me kill some zombies? Yeah! Let's finish Resident Evil.